Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Rakak Kodash. I give double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, who rule well, and salutations and much love to the rest of you, sincere Akim, pushing the word in truth and sincerity. This is the cleric Azar, coming at you with another lesson. I'm continuing in my lot to bring you my ongoing series from excerpts of Hollywood, This Factory of Perverseness, another observation of predictive programming, how art imitates life, and vice versa. Just a reminder, the purpose of my videos is to show correlations. A correlation is an observation of a mutual relationship or connection between two or more things. I use movies to extract or extrapolate a narrative. I'm not glorifying the Hollywood culture or life. I have a wide knowledge of films, whether they be foreign or domestic, and I just use them as an example to bring out those similarities and those correlations. To quote Cecil B. DeMille, the greatest source of material for motion pictures is the Bible. I call this lesson, Two-Thirds of Jacob Turn. The image I have on display is from a movie I've watched in my youth. Of course, being this true, I reflected on this particular series. This movie was released on October 7th, 1983. Oh, man. It's been a long time. Man, I can remember this movie coming out like it was yesterday, almost 40 years ago. The title of it is Never Say Never Again, directed by Irwin Kershner. Okay, I'm going to play this scene. I'm going to get right into it.
One minute, 47 seconds, sir. Not too shabby, sir. But dead, 007, dead. You should have studied the plot more carefully. Fanatical revolutionaries kidnapped a millionaire's daughter and held her captive for 8 weeks. Of course she could have been brainwashed. Could have turned. Evidently she did.
All right. So basically, let me get right into it. This is oh boy, this is for the detractors out here. This isn't an official James Bond entry. This is a James Bond film. Okay. It's a long story. This is the Summer of the Bonds. We got 2 Bonds in the same year. A lot of you older, a lot of you younger Jakes probably don't remember. But anyway, in the beginning of this particular film, Bond is going underneath a particular training exercise. Bond's played by Sean Connery. This is his last appearance as Bond. So anyway, he's up in age and so forth, and he's doing this training exercise where it's just they're using blanks, and he has to rescue this particular woman at the end of the training exercise. And at the end of the training exercise, this woman stabs him. Of course, it's a fake knife. It's one of those retractable knives where the blade retracts back into the hilt, just to represent that he failed his exercise. Okay, so basically, he had to study the plot. He's being reviewed by his boss, M. And of course, they videotaped it at the training exercise and they're trying to explain to him, hey, this person was a millionaire heiress, and she was captive for 8 weeks, and she could have been turned. And so, anyway, I was out at camp down here in Tampa, and one of the brothers, Marakab, was mentioning Stockholm Syndrome. Now, I've heard of this term before, but hey, in order for you to understand the context of a particular statement, you got to understand the words, and that's what here and Great Millstone, they definitely go into that a lot. I know my father used to teach me that as well. You got to understand words. In some cases, you really can make Esau mad by using words that he doesn't understand. My father used to do that when it came to talking to Edomites that thought they were smarter than him. He used to give me like little vocabulary training tools and things of that sort. I still have them to this day. Well, anyway, let me get right to the point. Stockholm Syndrome. Heard it mentioned a lot of times in camp. I never took out the time to really go into it, but maybe think about this particular film, because this happens, and this actually happens in another film as well, another James Bond entry, which I may bring out for a part 2. So anyway, Stockholm Syndrome. Let me go into basically the definition, and then I'm going to go into the components as well as what triggers it. Okay. Stockholm Syndrome. Here is the definition. It's a coping mechanism to a captive or abusive situation. People develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers over time. This condition applies to situations including child abuse, coach-athlete abuse, relationship abuse, and sex trafficking. Now, when you go into the three components of Stockholm Syndrome, it breaks down to three different components: cognitive, emotional, and social. The cognitive talks about confusion. All right, now this is Babylon the Great. This is utter confusion. Confusion, blurred memory, delusion, and recurring flashbacks. Emotional, lack of feeling, fear, helplessness, hopelessness, aggression, depression, guilt, dependence on captor, and development of post-traumatic stress disorder. Doesn't Scripture say you'll go to him for one of all things, the dependence on the captor? All right, we also have the third component, which is social: anxiety, irritability, cautiousness, and estrangement. Okay. What triggers Stockholm Syndrome? It occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors or abusers. The psychological connection develops over the course of the days, weeks, months, or even years of captivity or abuse. With this syndrome, hostages or abuse victims may come to sympathize with their captors. Ain't that something? All right, that's just, man. And I will say, when I was in the world, in some cases, even now, I'm still a victim of Stockholm Syndrome, okay? Because I remember being in this particular state of mind at one point, okay? Thawada Yahweh Shem Yahshai, for bringing me out of this, okay? All right, but this is all goes back to the scriptures about trusting in oppression, all right? You can read about that in Isaiah chapter 30, verse 12, and it reads, "Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon," okay? Let me see if there's any more added to this. I think I'm kind of missing out the whole, excuse me, Salakia. Okay, good. Now, verse 13. "Therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking coming suddenly at an instant." Okay. But hey, this has to do with you Jakes, you blacks, Native American, Latinos, which make up the lost tribes of Israel. Okay, are you a homeborn slave after all these things that have been done to you and how you've been spoiled? Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 14 speaks to this. Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 14 reads, "Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?" Okay, and this is the thing, you're not being told why you're in this particular predicament that you're in. And you've been basically brainwashed from the moment you got over here, from the moment you stepped on the cargo slave ships, from womb to the tomb. You've been brainwashed, okay? And you're not being taught why you have been put in this situation. If you stay in the book of Jeremiah and read chapter 5, verse 19, it goes into it as well. Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 19 reads, "And when the people ask, for what offense has the Lord our power done all these things to us? You are to tell them, just as you have forsaken me and served foreign gods in your land, so will you serve foreigners in a land that is not your own." Hey, that land is not your own. Hey, over here in Babylon the Great, aka America. Okay. All right, let's go into Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 4. And we're going to bring out additional scripture here. Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 4, for it reads, "And you yourself will relinquish the inheritance that I gave you. I will enslave you to your enemies in a land that you do not know, for you have kindled my anger. It will burn forever." Oh man, I'll tell you, man, this is something. Okay, this is what has happened to us. Okay, we were enslaved. We came over here to this land because the Most High was mad at us. Okay, for worshiping other gods and serving foreign gods in back in Israel. Okay, and you guys act like you Jakes act like you don't know what this devil's done to you, and what he did to the old, what he did to the young. Okay, the Bible talks about what was going to happen to us. Okay, this is a nation of fierce countenance. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 50. For it reads, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor shew favor to the young. Okay, you had your children being fed to alligators, crocodiles. The old were, they worked to the bone, so forth. How about when they would take the pregnant women and take two horses and split the woman apart and bash the baby right in front of all the other women and men and so forth? What about buck breaking and so forth? Oh man, this wasn't that long ago, folks. Okay, these people did not show us any mercy whatsoever. Okay, and the Most High was watching the whole entire thing. All right, Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6. All right, let's get it. Isaiah chapter 47, verse 6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Whose hand? That was the hand of Esau Edom, so-called white man. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Okay? All right, and we say, I can go all day on this about what has happened to us over the years. All right, like I said, from the moment we got on the boats to us getting over here. Okay, all right, but I'm gonna end it on this. I always like to end my videos on a good note with some type of silver lining, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So in other words, there is a happy ending. Okay, ultimately it was the Most High's pulling the wool over the eyes of the 2/3 of Jake, you blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, which make up the lost tribes of Israel. And he was only going to wake up the elect or the small remnant of Israel to understand this word, okay, and to go out onto the highways and byways, starting with our elder apostles on down, okay. But this was coming to you heathen and ultimately to you Edomites. All right, let's get Revelation chapter 13, verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So, all right, we were led into captivity. So, hey, Esau Edom's going into captivity, okay? And that same Stockholm syndrome, according to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7, the same curses that are put on us, it's going to be put on you, okay? All right, so I'm just glad I was able to remember this particular scene. I got another one. So stay tuned for part 2. I'm going to bring out some additional scriptures here. But hey, it's coming, and it's just due as well. Okay, I just wanted to share that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, who gives me the strength of the spirit to continue to strive and endure in these last days. Shalom to the hopeful elect, and on to the next video.